The psalm assigned to this day of the church year is Psalm 19. Listen. To the lead player, a David psalm. The heavens tell God's glory, and his handiwork sky declares. Day to day breathes utterance, and night to night pronounces knowledge. There is no utterance, and there are no words. Their voice is never heard. Through all the earth their voice goes out, to the world's edge their words. For the sun God sets up a tent in them, and the sun like a groom from his canopy comes, exalts like a warrior running his course. From the ends of the heavens his going out, and his circuit to their ends, and nothing can hide from his heat. The Lord's teaching is perfect, restoring to life. The Lord's pact is steadfast. It makes the fool wise. The Lord's precepts are upright, delighting the heart. The Lord's command, unblemished, giving light to the eyes. The Lord's fear is pure, outlasting all time. The Lord's judgments are truth, all of them just. More desired than gold, than abundant fine gold, and sweeter than honey, quintessence of bees. Your servant, too, takes care with them, in keeping them great reward. Unwitting sins, who can grasp? Of unknown actions, clear me. From willful men, preserve your servant. Let them not rule over me. Then shall I be blameless and clear of great crime. Let my mouth's utterances be pleasing, and my heart's stirring before you, Lord, my rock and Redeemer. As always, I want to say a word about what the writer is doing. At first, he thinks about the wonderful design of the heavens overhead. He sees it as a manifestation of God's beautiful work as creator. Brilliance of sunlight, glory of moon and stars. Then he makes what seems like a contradiction. Day to day breathes utterance, and night to night pronounces knowledge. Okay, so the steady rhythm of day and night is saying something to us. But wait, there is no utterance, and there are no words. Their voice is never heard. But then he says, through all the earth their voices go out, to the world's edge their words. Are we confused yet? What he's trying to underline for us is paradox. Speaking can involve words, or not. Silence and beauty can speak. Some things are beyond words, but still they speak. Have you heard it said that your actions may be the only Bible some folks ever read? The next part of the psalm is interesting too. In the sky, God sets up a tent for the sun. The sun comes out of his tent every morning, like a bridegroom or a warrior. To make the sun a person is weird enough to our 21st century ears. Add to that the psalmist seems to be drawing on the pagan imagery of his day. Egypt, for instance, worshipped a sun god, and they were not alone. Why would a monotheist Hebrew do this? Some have speculated it's a polemic against paganism. Others that it simply underlines the poetic expression of how the heavens tell God's glory day after day. Be that as it may, I wish I still had some of the cards that came in this box. More desired than gold and sweeter than honey. Here, the writer moves us from the perfection of God's teaching to its quality of sensual lusciousness, if that makes sense. God's teaching, object of desire, source of sweetness. Of unknown actions, clear me. That's plain enough. It pains us plenty to think of how we've missed the mark and wounded others by action or inaction, by speech or silence, and not known it. And so, to end the psalmist says, "Let my mouth's utterances be pleasing and my heart stirring before you, Lord, my rock and redeemer." I wanted to say another word related to the idea of son as bridegroom warrior and God's law as honey. The image-loving part of our brains does this all the time. It helps us process what we experience. To say the stars danced, or the garden smiled, or the hurricane came lumbering ashore and slapped us around. Think about it, and you'll see. It would be a shame to root out this poet place in our hearts. Yes, it would be a shame to root out this poet place in our hearts. Heaven knows some have tried, often with good enough intentions. Example, from ancient times, the Germanic peoples noticed that trees were connected to heaven and were deep-rooted in the mysteries of the earth, and so they considered trees to be holy. Around about the 700s, an Anglo-Saxon Christian priest named Boniface was sent to Germany to correct this wrong thinking. When he arrived, he managed to convince a number of Germans that trees are not holy, and to think or practice otherwise is not pleasing to God. Other Germans, however, clung to their pagan ways, either secretly or openly. The converted Germans suggested to Boniface that it would help the cause to cut down the oak of Thor, also known as the oak of Jupiter, an enormous old tree especially dear to the holdouts. Legend reports that when Boniface swung his axe and made the first notch, the tree burst into 4 parts, crashed to the ground, shivering its crown of branches as it fell, and immediately arranged itself into a cross. This miracle instantly converted the remaining skeptics, silencing their outrage forever. Boniface himself, however, wrote a long letter to the Pope in which he said it took hours and hours and much effort to fell the great tree. All this and more came to mind this week when I heard the ash tree by the drainage ditch behind my brother's house had to come down. Our family moved to this place of the ash tree in 1960, and my brother lives there still. The ash tree joined a yard full of other trees in shading and shaping our youth, standing tall and patient and not much noticed. Now, Hurricane Laura having struck us a glancing blow, the ash tree was leaning significantly more than usual over my brother's workshop. So he called the drainage district, who promptly sent a tree removal crew. During the tree's lifetime, I thought little about it, but once down, it drew me. Once it was on the ground, I brought my almost 3-year-old granddaughter, Amelia, to view the stump, touch the rings, and watch the bright orange bobcat shove the cut sections into a pile at the edge of the street. She connected keenly to the tree. but the noise and nimbleness of the bobcat gave her pause, so we didn't linger. One revealed aspect of its inner world explained a lot. Its lower trunk was hollow. Termites. And then we learned by a ring count that it was about 109 years old. In other words, it sprouted in 1911. Jefferson County, Texas, Beaumont, the place of its birth, born in 11, connected to heaven and grounded deep in the earth. Psalm 19 makes this eternal claim on our attention. It says, "The heavens tell God's glory and his handiwork. Sky declares, day to day breathes utterance, and night to night proclaims knowledge. And the sun makes its circuit every day, like a warrior striding into battle, or a bridegroom eager to be united with his beloved, body, heart, and mind, and nothing can hide from his heat." Which is no wonder, because in scientific fact, the sun is a maelstrom of superheated plasma, massive convection cells rising and falling, which creates a tremendous uproar of sound. In other words, the sun sings, a shining choir shouting God's glory. If the sun, who keeps me alive, is grateful and sings loud praise to the Lord who made him, how much more should I express my gratitude and praise each new day? This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. We walk among miracles. Let us pay attention, be astonished, and tell about it. Let us pay attention, be astonished, and tell about it. Okay, I can do that. Back to the ash tree behind my brother's fence. The ash tree, who for over a century listened to the sun sing, who practiced the sacred work of photosynthesis so planet Earth could survive and thrive, who gave a handful of people the shade of its beautiful self. The ash tree did the best it could until it couldn't anymore. For all of this, it seemed a gesture of respect on my part to look up ash tree, and what should I find but this, from an ancient poem of the Norsemen, cousins to those tree-loving Germans of long ago. An ash, I know, there stands. Yggdrasil is its name, a tall tree, showered with shining loam. From there come the dews that drop in the valleys. It stands forever green over Uror's well. What in the world? Well, it seems Yggdrasil, and yes, I had to look up how to say that, is an immense ash tree that is center to the cosmos and considered very holy. The gods go to Yggdrasil daily to assemble at their traditional governing assemblies, which they call things. The branches of Yggdrasil extend far into the heavens, and the tree is supported by 3 roots that extend far away into other locations. One to the well Urorbrunner in the heavens, one to the spring Hvergelmir, and another to the well Mimmisbrunner. I think our ash tree of blessed memory could relate to this next part. Creatures live within Yggdrasil, including a dragon, an eagle, and 4 stags, Dain, Dvalin, Duner, and Durapur, who feed on its leaves. Also a squirrel named Ratatoskr, who dashes up and down the branches, delivering messages. It was told of Yggdrasil, considered by the god Odin to be noblest of the trees, that at the end of time, Yggdrasil shivers, the ash as it stands, the old tree groans, and the giant slips free. According to Norse mythology, the first man and woman came from a tree, and the first man's name was Askr, which literally means ash. I don't think Boniface or anyone else should object to our hearing these old stories, appreciating them, and recognizing that we create and tell our own stories all the time to make sense of things. Some person I can't remember the name of went so far as to say that the Creator created people in His image because He enjoys hearing stories and was eager to hear what we had to say. Well, we cannot fully know the heart and mind of the Creator, blessed be He or She, but I do think the poetry place in our hearts, given by God, devoted to God, should be forever free to imagine. In closing, here's me as a tree, perhaps an ash tree. I don't fancy myself center of the cosmos. I'm sure not as willowy as I used to be, but I still take great delight in being rooted and grounded in my home and my faith tradition. One Sunday morning before the pandemic, before leaving home to go teach Sunday school and attend worship, then have lunch with the family. Oh, the things I used to take for granted. I was especially pleased with my outfit, especially the incorporation of black and gold leaf earrings. So I told my computer to take a picture of me, and I then sent the picture to the giver of the leaves. So that was my poet expression for that long ago morning last fall. Beyond that, I figured the picture might come in handy one day for an illustration of something or other, and now it has. Behold, here I am exulting in my going out, like the sun, to make my appointed rounds, one more precious day. Here I am with a Sunday school lesson all ready to share. Here I am with real gold on one wrist and fake gold around my neck. Here I am with black leaf earrings dipped in gold. Here I am wrapped in green, like a tree. And I suppose you might say that my tree pose is pointing to heaven and pointing to the ground I stand on, though I think I was just being silly. And by the way, my granddaughter calls me honey, 'cause I'm so sweet, ha? Samuel Longfellow prayed, "Be my Lord, and I shall be firmly bound, forever free." I can relate to that prayer. That prayer, like Psalm 19, is the kind of prayer that understands paradox. Amen.
The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. fine gold, sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. The statutes of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold, sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold, sweeter also than honey and the